Well, one day after passing overwhelmingly in the House, Congress has given final approval to a temporary government funding package, averting a nationwide shutdown. CBS's Chanel Call has more on what's next.
The 60-vote threshold having been achieved, the bill is passed.
Just days shy of a Friday night deadline, Congress managed to avert a government shutdown.
Mission accomplished.
The two-step stopgap measure was supported by all but one Democrat and 10 Republicans in the Senate Wednesday night.
Yeas are 87, the nays are 11.
Ensuring temporary funding would continue through the holidays.
A great outcome for the American people.
The package sees government funding remain at current levels for roughly 2 more months, with agencies including transportation, housing, and energy financed through January 19th, and other departments like Defense and Homeland Security through February 2nd. The move buys the House and Senate more time to overcome their differences on future spending.
Today's CR is a very good step, a good omen for the future. I hope we see more bipartisanship down the line.
The plan does not include the White House's nearly $106 billion request for aid to Ukraine and Israel, something Democratic lawmakers will likely negotiate after their upcoming recess.
I don't want to see billions of dollars sent to Ukraine in a war that needs to end.
While House GOP members plan to push for immigration and border legislation. The temporary spending bill now heads to President Biden's desk to be signed into law. Chanel Call, CBS News.
Well, newly elected House Speaker Mike Johnson, who proposed this plan, has promised not to support more stopgap funding measures in the future, laying the groundwork for a battle over the nation's budget between the House and the Senate next year. And Senator Steve Daines was one vote in favor of the continuing resolution in the Senate. The CR will fund the government until early next year. The senator's office says that he voted for an amendment to cut spending 15% across the board, excluding departments of defense and veterans affairs. The continuing resolution will also extend current farm bill funding in lieu of Congress's passing of a new piece of legislation. Now, here's a statement issued from Senator Steve Daines. In quote, I supported passage of today's government funding bill because it avoids Congress wasting taxpayer money on a giant catch-all backroom spending deal at the end of the year. And he went on to add, it also ensures our troops keep getting paychecks at Thanksgiving and Christmas and provides certainty for Montana farmers and ranchers by extending vital farm programs. And Congressman Matt Rosendale of Montana's Eastern District voted against a clean continuing resolution on Tuesday. His office also issued a press release stating that H.R. 6363 does not make any spending cuts and continues President Biden's policies and Nancy Pelosi's budget. And Congressman Rosendale issued a statement, in quote, our nation is facing over $33 trillion of national debt and our credit has been downgraded. Something must change. Unfortunately, this CR changes nothing. He went on to add, instead, it subjects the American people to 2 more months of Joe Biden's policies and Nancy Pelosi's budget, which is why I voted against it. Well, like we said, the Senate is expected to vote Thursday on a plan to officially avert that government shutdown, at least until after the new year. Now, the plan, which passed out of the House earlier this week, funds some governmental agencies until mid-January, while others are funded until February 2nd. The White House has seemed to indicate President Biden would sign this. The bill, however, does not include any aid to Israel or Ukraine. So does that matter? Our Joe St. George with a closer look on how the lack of military support may start impacting the conflict soon.
Congress late Wednesday avoided a government shutdown, which was set to happen at the end of this week.
But the funding deal does not include any extra spending for Israel or Ukraine. So with the Thanksgiving holiday looming, a natural question is, how long can these countries fight their conflicts without additional U.S. aid?
The answer depends on who you ask, with Ukraine and Israel in very different positions.
There is an urgency. A real urgency in Ukraine right now.
Democratic senators on the Appropriations Committee, as well as the Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin, seemed to indicate earlier this month that Ukraine may soon be in a dire state, with a harsh winter on the horizon.
We are really getting to a point very soon where there are not bullets in the guns. The need is dire, isn't it?
It absolutely is, Senator.
Of course, not everyone on Capitol Hill agrees with the urgency. To date, Congress has approved more than $75 billion for Ukraine's war with Russia, and some believe there needs to be more accountability. Republican House Speaker Mike Johnson hasn't ruled out more aid to Ukraine, but he wants it paired with something else.
We want to pair border security with Ukraine because I think we could get bipartisan agreement. We're going to take care of a a border in Ukraine, we need to take care of America's border as well.
As far as Israel, it's hard for members of Congress to walk through the halls without being reminded of the conflict. Pictures of some of the reported hostages line some of the hallways.
The yeas are 51, the nays are 48.
This week, though, the Senate blocked a House Republican plan to send $14 billion to Israel. Democrats didn't like the fact it paid for it with cuts to the IRS. But Israel, for the moment, appears to be in a different position than Ukraine. For one, Israel's conflict with Hamas is much more recent. Ukraine's war has gone on for close to 2 years. Not to mention, by law, every year the U.S. gives over $3 billion to assist Israel's defense. That being said, the White House still believes Israel needs U.S. aid urgently. However, they also want that aid paired with assistance for Ukraine. In fact, White House officials have said that's the only way President Biden will sign it into law.
The president would veto an only Israel bill.
Joe St. George, Scripps News, Washington.